Demonstrate how to do the first tutorial. The first tutorial is going to be working with selections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that folder that I just copied to my desktop. I'm going to go to Working with Selections. I'm going to turn to page 66 in the book. It's going to again show you that end file and what it should look like. And again, if you either double click on this and open it in Photoshop or hold the space bar or press the space bar, it's going to show you what that final image looks like. I'm going to double click on the start file, and this is going to open up in Photoshop. When you're working in Photoshop, definitely use the screen to your advantage. You have a very, very large screen. I'll sometimes see students working on a teeny tiny screen like this. Make that really big, or you can even click on the green button and then that will take you to full screen. A lot of selection tools. We have the geometric selection tools, which are the rectangular marquee tool, and if you hold your mouse down, you'll see the elliptical marquee tool, the single row marquee tool, and the single column marquee tool. We also have the freehand selection tools, which is the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. And then we have some edge-based selection tools, like the quick selection tool. And then we also have the color-based selections, such as the magic wand tool. There's a couple other new tools in here that I haven't used yet because we're in the 2020 edition of this software. But all of these selection tools work basically the same throughout all of the versions. So our book is a little bit older compared to the newer software. So you might see some things that are a little bit different, but I'm going to try to catch those for you and show those to you. So you can skip the Getting Started section of the chapter. That's just showing you how to open the file, and that would be opening the file from the disk that comes with the back of the book. So we're going to move down to using the quick selection tool. What they want us to do here is we're going to select the sand dollar. So I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. So I can do that a couple of different ways. I did Command plus on my keyboard, and then you can see when I zoomed in, I can't see it. So if I hold down my space bar, it turns into a hand, and I can drag this up. If I didn't do it that way, I could also take the magnifying tool or the zoom tool, and I could click and drag. Now this is on scrubby zoom. You can turn off scrubby zoom up here by clicking that box. I don't like scrubby zoom, so when I click and drag on my selection, it will fill the screen. So I'm going to take that quick selection tool. This works well when you have an image that is about all of the same color and has a pretty defined edge to it. We can see that edge on the background of that white. It contrasts a lot. So when I click on here, it should just make a very quick selection of the image. Again, it all depends on the image that you're using. What we're going to do now is I need to zoom out because I need to move it to the plate. So I can use those tools that I showed you before. I could use the magnifying tool, and right now it's zooming in. If I come up here and click on the minus, I can zoom out. I can also do Command minus to zoom out as well. So I need to move this. In order to move it, I need to use the Move tool. So that's the tool up here at the top. So if I click on that, now what I'm going to do is click and drag this, and this wants me to move it right about here. Now with this particular tutorial, once I have cut it out and placed it where I want it, I need to leave it there. So I need to make sure it stays in that spot. If I don't, You guys haven't learned to use layers yet, and this particular tutorial isn't using layers. So if I were to deselect this, so Command D, and then try to select it again, I'll show you what happens. And I try to move it again, it's going to cut out part of that plate. So make sure you know where you want to place it before you put it down. You can always go back to page 66 and see what that tutorial is going to look like. The next thing that we're going to do is use the elliptical marquee tool to select this little dish of shells. So by default, you'll see your rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to hold my mouse down and drag over to the elliptical marquee tool. Now this can be a little bit tricky. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this for you so you can see this. Because when I try to select this, I might not get a perfect selection right away.